So
My cat
welcome everybody.
wants to be
Yeah.
live also.
Oh yeah, the cat wants to be live. That's good in 2026. So thanks everyone for joining. We are welcome for this our becoming an AI or ML engineer session in 2026. I know lots of us have resolutions and we want to understand how is the AI and ML engineer role looking like. Some of it could still be AI architect as well in this discussion. So here I have a team of experts, AWS community leaders here with me. So I'm just going to go around and give you the chance to introduce yourself briefly while we get ready for the discussion in our fireside chat. So on my screen, I see here, Virginie, you're first. Can you briefly
Hi.
tell us about yourself?
I'm an AWS machine learning hero in France, and I started AI 23 years ago. So it's a bit different right now than back in the time.
Okay, that's good. And Brian?
Hey everybody. Yeah, I'm Brian Chasko. I'm joining from New Mexico, USA, and I've been doing machine learning work for at least a decade now, we'll just say, and have also been involved with Amazon Web Services community for I think about 18 years now. And so it's been a fun ride through all types of tumultuous times, like we're living in right now.
Good. Francesco?
Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me. I'm Francesco. So I'm Italian, based in Brussels, in Belgium. I'm in AWS machine learning hero, and I do machine learning for Bolt, a company in the ride-hailing business. And I've been doing machine learning for around like a decade as well. It's definitely like been a fun ride.
And Anna?
Hi everyone, Anna from Boston, with a background in computational linguistics and artificial intelligence, AWS community builder, also worked on Alexa AI for a few years, currently work for a company called SimpliSafe, which is more of home security rather than home assistance. And I've been in the industry for about almost 10 years now.
Okay, fine. That's good. So I'll just go around. So, Virginia, I'll start with you. So, in 2 to 3 key steps, what actually moved your AI or ML career forward, and probably what didn't move that, what didn't help?
First one is my PhD in neural networks, but not right when I had my PhD, but 10 years later. And most of what has done things for me is public speaking. I think public speaking is very important, and doing public speaking has made a lot for me.
Okay, sounds good. And Brian, can you go ahead?
Sure, my pleasure. Um, I think the key thing was learning a problem and a data set related to the problem to work with. And being lucky enough, like Virginia said, to understudy under PhDs, to audit PhD level things in terms of understanding what they were looking for. But what I can tell everybody in a sentence out of that experience goes back to that data. What they were looking for was data that was clean, that made AI reliable. And so learning that as a foundational principle, really, if you don't have that, you're kind of building AI on quicksand. So that was the 2 to 3 steps for me was learning to be a data grunt.
Okay, good. Francesco?
Yeah. So for me, I think so I'm a chemist. So by my background is in chemistry. So like absolutely like nothing to do like with AI. I like to call myself like a field chemist. And so I'd say that I had to prove myself, so because like people wouldn't really trust me at all. And then the moment you go for a career change, everybody's is saying, okay, what can you show me? What is it, just anything that can prove that you're and not good at this, right? And so I think that for me, like what really changed everything was when I started blogging. So I worked on all sorts of like side projects and then I documented them, right? So as simple as that. So I started like a blog on my own, and every single time I went through like a problem that I solved with even like simple AI, like simple ML, it was like back in the day, logistic regression, like trying to figure out, like the Titanic data set on Kaggle, this kind of thing that it's like it's very basic, but it shows that you can understand a problem, you can solve a problem, and you have like your communication is concise, is clear, and that really changed everything because like the moment I went into interviews or I applied for jobs, people were like, okay, so do you have any experience with this? And I was like, not really. I don't really work in this domain before, but look, I have this blog post of mine that I worked on last year, and it was about like computer vision, like whatever, and people were like, oh, interesting, like can you explain to me what happened there and what you do? So I think that really changed everything for me, blogging.
Okay, thanks. Anna?
Yeah, so in terms of the trajectory, starting from the beginnings, I'm actually a career switcher. So my first career was and my undergrad major was in theoretical linguistics, and therefore my employment was in mostly teaching human languages, natural languages, and at some point I completed a master's, as I mentioned, in computational linguistics and artificial intelligence, and that sort of helped me change paths and industries. And if I look back on the industry career, the fact that definitely moved my career along was trying to solve real business problems with ML. And particularly thinking carefully, if there is a problem, does it really need to have an ML solution? Because I've also seen examples of that when people try to apply ML maybe to things that could be solved deterministically, very efficiently and cheaply. So weighing all those trade-offs, and that kind of really shows your critical thinking in solving problems and your value. And yeah, and then just I think the next step is solving problems fast, because that's often what business requires. They don't necessarily have a lot of time for experimentation.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. So like AI is not like magic or something. That is what we are saying here. So we are in 2026 now. Lots have happened. We had a discussion in 2025. I think lots has happened in between. I hear lots of things that terms that I can't even remember some of them. MCP agent. So many things are happening. I'm even confused. So I want to ask, I'll start with you, Francesco. What does it realistically take to become an AI or ML engineer in 2026 going forward?
I think so okay, it is coding agents are getting really good. They are really good. They are here to stay. I think I was very skeptical about this. I don't know, up until like 3 months ago, and then there are a couple of models that got released and really like change everything. So you just have to acknowledge that those like writing code is not the bottleneck anymore, I would say. So then, like, the real question is, how are you going to um, um, differentiate, yourself, and what makes you a real AI or ML engineer? Because if the answer is because I can write code, then it's probably not a good answer, right? So I'd say that what makes what I mean, to answer your question, I'd say that you'd have to make sure you understand the basics, like the foundations, right? Because the problem is that AI can write the code, but then I'm not really sure you can understand like the business problem that you're solving. The domain expert is still you. So you have to make sure that you know how to debug a problem. You know the basics of machine learning and AI, so real the foundations. Um, and then yeah, so the domain knowledge, the domain understanding, right? So like we are, why are you doing what you're doing? And that is like clearly important, and also like figuring out the data, right? So the data is still something that AI can still do analysis, it can because it can write code, right? But then like is it good enough to actually understand what is going on? Is it going to look at images when you're training like a computer vision model and figure out like what is good or what is bad? So I would say be a strong product engineer, right? Rather than just a software engineer, and cover the basics. Be sure that you are good at analyzing data, and just go ahead.
Okay, thanks, Virginie. So, what do you think realistically in 2026? How can someone become an AI or ML engineer?
Oh, I think you have a lot to learn right now, maybe more than before. And I think I am lucky to have started that 20 years ago because I've learned a lot of things every year. And right now, there's a lot to learn. The theory part is very important to understand why it is working or why it is not working. And it is not just knowing how to use the tools, but to know how the tools are working. So I think you have to go deeper in every knowledge that maybe you had in 2025, to go deeper and to see why it's working, how it's working, when it's working. And yeah, like Francesco have said, you're the business expert and you will still be the business expert. So you have to learn a lot about people jobs, about people communications and things like that. And don't forget MLOps, because doing things is great, but being able to put them in production is better.
Okay, good. So, Brian, what do you think becoming an AI engineer in 2026 realistically?
Yeah. And you stated that, what do people overestimate? I'll start
Yeah.
with that and work backwards. So I think people overestimate that they need to be an engineer to be relevant in AI in 2026. And I think the reality, I mean, if we look at Amazon, they're having their largest layoff in company history, and they say it's due to efficiencies because of AI. So I think in 2026, it's really an important year for everybody to become an AI expert, not necessarily engineer and an expert. And I think, unfortunately, that's not quite democratized. I think you need either some good hardware, either the most entry level I know of is a Mac series, Mac Mini. M2 series is about $500. That'll allow you to do some of the trends, like you mentioned, MCP, Gen AI. I know for me, I get eaten up by ChatGPT monthly fees, this monthly fee, that monthly fee. So that frees me to be able to run models locally, which helps when I'm trying to think about the overall budget that I'm spending on these things. The alternative, if you don't have either that or an NVIDIA machine, if you want to be a machine learning expert this year, is you need one of these fairly expensive services, be it Kiro Pro or Claude Code or Cursor, and those are going to be about $200 a month. So I think, unfortunately, that's realistically what it takes this year.
Okay, okay. Okay, good. So, Anna, I have a question for you. So, we know AI is not magic, like you said. So, what skills from maybe software, someone from software, data, or cloud backgrounds transfer into AI, and which don't? Which are some of the transferable skills from those different professions?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So sort of also echoing the previous questions and responses from the panelists. From what I also observe, regardless of the fact that, despite the fact that the field is evolving extremely fast and in fascinating ways. The artificial intelligence is helping us do so many things, and much faster than any one of us probably could have done. You still need pretty strong software engineering fundamentals. And even if you are not going to be implementing an API yourself, in the end of the day, you'll still be involved either in consuming data via API, or maybe the result of your work is going to be served via API, and you'll be pulled into, most probably into debugging some of that. So you definitely need to understand a lot of parts about service development, maintenance, scaling, and very importantly in business observability. The other sort of domain of skills is data. And at least from what I have been observing lately, and it might be even surprising for some people, but working with data modeling is one of the skills that is highly valued, highly required, very helpful, and even some of the basic skills, but not on a basic level, on a more advanced sort of level of expertise. Things like SQL, because you're working with so much data at this point, turns out to be extremely helpful. So I think those are maybe the couple of first go-to things that I would call out that are transferable and valuable from other domains, particularly for ML and AI work.
Okay, thanks. Now, Francisco, what do you think, software, someone from a software background or data or cloud, maybe doing DevOps or doing other things, what are some skills that you think are transferable to AI or ML, and maybe some that might not be that transferable into this domain?
I'm not sure. I think that I'm not sure this is like the right question to ask. I think that I would really like go down a layer and just like strip like domains out, right? And it's not just about cloud or about like AI, ML engineering or data modeling or data scientists. It's I think it's about curiosity, right? So the moment in whatever domain you are in the tech right now, the most important thing is not to get, I guess, like discouraged first, like by the fact that, you know, like everybody's saying, well, whatever, we're gonna be replaced by Claude Code, and just like be curious and understand what you're doing and why you're doing it, most importantly, right? Um, um, because at the end of the day, we might say, well, you know, it's all about prompting, right? So you're gonna just ask a question to like Claude Code or ChatGPT, and it's gonna figure it out. But still, you are the one asking the question, right? You are the one prompting, right? So you gotta be able to ask the right question, because like Claude, even if it's like great, like at writing the code, it is gonna do hopefully what you ask it to do. So if you ask the wrong question, then it's going to solve the wrong problem. So you still have to know what is happening, right? I'm gonna provide like an example. Like for literally yesterday, we had like a model in production, a machine learning model in production, and it started having like a memory leak. So memory just RAM kept increasing over time. And like it's amazing how these models have absolutely no clue, right? So you know, you have because it has to get access to like all sorts of data, all sorts of infra that it cannot have access to, right? And you are the one who put it in production. You are the one with the ML infra folks who know exactly why you chose what you chose and why. And so it was amazing to see like this like I think it was like Codex trying like throwing like all sorts of stuff at you, right? Oh, okay, we're gonna change this, we're gonna change this setting, and we're gonna do this, and we're gonna do that. Like, no, man, this is not stop. You know, this is not gonna fly, right? So you're still in charge, right? And that's I think that everybody pretty much among us is repeating the same thing. you got to know what you're doing. It's even more important to be an expert, right? To really know why you're doing what you're doing, so you can ask the right questions, and that can be an accelerator for sure. So the moment you know how to ask the right questions, then you're basically unstoppable. But you still have to know to ask the right questions.
Okay. Yeah, thanks. Virginie, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with Francesco. And I think you still have to be the expert of what you're doing, because AI can do a lot of things for you. But if you're not able to understand what has been done and to see if it is correct or not, maybe you will agree with things that are not true or that are not the best things to do. For example, I'm coding with Kiro. Kiro is the AWS agent code and so on. And sometimes Kiro is doing mistakes that I can see because I know about software developing and so on. But if you're just new, a beginner in one domain and just trusting AI for everything, you may have some problems at one point. So you have to be able to read, understand, and maybe correct what AI has done for you. So keep in charge, still be the expert. I think it's very important to be the expert of what you're doing with AI. And sorry for my cat.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. We are all learning AI here, right? And here and ML engineering. So, Brian, do you think like, and because it's like there's some overhyping somewhere, do you think beginners, there is some things, certain things about AI ML that are overhyped and beginners fall into that? And also, are there some things you think they're underestimating? So we like try to give a practical advice on hype and reality.
Definitely. Yeah. The whole world is overhyped on this concept of, quote, AGI, this idea that AI is just going to be ready to do everything for us as the expert on everything. And as everybody's hit on, you're only as intelligent as the data in front of you and the human who understands it. And so having those two layers to kind of inform the AI is really a critical thing. Um, sorry, I lost the core thread. What, restate the question one more time for me?
Okay, yes, no, what I want us to understand is there are some hype that
Oh, yes, with the
trend hype that
AGI.
beginners.
Yes, that's why.
Yeah,
So
sure,
step
sure.
back from that and look at the world in front of you and get really good at that. Because as everybody said, in order to really utilize these at the speed that the experts are going to, you need to really customize each model, each agent that you're working with to be kind of a second you in that thing. So, for example, a few people mentioned blogging. I now have a blogging agent who knows my writing style, so it doesn't go through and break everything following some set of rules it was pre-trained on. It knows based on my own blogs how I want to be. And just as a crude example there, I think that's a really fascinating place to be where, yeah, the overhyped part is waiting for this silver bullet. The underestimated part is just getting in and getting really good at doing one particular thing with AI.
Okay, good. And yeah, thanks. So I'll go to you, Anna. So if you had to choose one core technical skill, to master deeply this year, just one. I know there are many. Yeah, that's the very tough question, right? If you just had to choose one to master this year, what would it be for, yeah, this year for AIM?
Oof, that's a tough question.
I know, I know, I know.
There are so many layers to it when I think about it. But if I try to boil down this sort of what are we trying to achieve? So what is maybe one area that I would need to focus on, based on the current state of the industry, the current trends, and where we hypothesize the industry and the engineering career is moving towards. I think it comes down to system designs and system thinking, which is, also maybe not a really great answer because is it realistic to master something like that in a year, which is, I think, the way you stated the question, right? But on the other side, because the machines can already do so many things for you, from what I'm seeing and what I'm also hearing from other colleagues, the value of the human that comes to light is your human judgment, which is very interesting. And I think if there are any other fellow linguists listening to that, they'll probably smile at that the human judgment really shines here. So you either know the domain, you know how things need to be implemented, how things are connected, and then you can make the right calls. And then the machines were only going to do really what you tell them to do. Hopefully they don't rise. So yeah. And if we're talking about some of the folks in the audience who are actually just starting out and hoping to maybe to pivot to enter into AI ML engineering career this year, if they're really pressed me with, hey, Anna, like what is actually actionable that I can do? I don't know, start reading. There are a few books on those matters, some really good blogs, and yeah, start trying, with theory first. There's no shortcut to it, and then hopefully your career and experience will allow you to develop more and more of that in practice.
Okay, that's good. So, Francesco, over to you. Tough question. 1 year, you have to learn one skill, right? One skill this year. That is for someone to get into AI or ML. One skill.
Oh boy. Um, I'd practice my communication, I think. I'd going back to what I have to I think your first question to me, and I replied I replied that the game changer for me was when I started blogging. So I think that if I started in this field today and they had to do this over again, um, I'd build something and I'd document it. And that is something that so writing about something in a concise, clear way is a skill that is going to differentiate you. Because yeah, AI can help you do that as well, of course, writing, right? But at some point, for example, when you're presenting something, I mean, in a call, for instance, right? The AI is not going to take over and do the speech for you, right? At least not yet. So even if we can write a blog for you, you'll be the one presenting to your boss or to an audience or a call to somebody the result of your work. And if you practiced writing about your work, that's going to be a lot easier to do that live in front of someone. So I would definitely practice that. I would practice communication. And the way to do that, as I said, is build something. So an example for me was I don't know. I really wanted like to practice building, training a model and deploying it. And I don't know. It was like probably like 4 years ago, 5 years ago. I trained a tiny model to categorize movie posters. I mean, to categorize movies basically detect the genre of a movie using its poster. So just like an action movie and horror movie. It was like silly, like is there any application of this? I don't think so, but it was fun. And so I had to do that, scrape the data. I had to figure out how to train the model, how to validate the model, evaluate the model, then deploy the model on Amazon on SageMaker, back in the day. So and then I documented the entire thing. So I wrote several blog posts about it. So that is really that is it, because then you can practice how you write, how you communicate, how you engage with people commenting also in the blog post. So I think that's it. That's what I would do. And that's the one skill I would practice this year.
Okay, Brian, one skill this year?
Sure. So from a technical perspective, you mentioned earlier MCP. I think that's the technical skill to know in this year. Anna mentioned earlier APIs being a critical component of computer science that helps a lot with working with machine learning. And I think that MCP is kind of the equivalent when you're in the Gen AI world. So for example, I use Context 7. Context 7 goes and makes sure that my AI buddies aren't grabbing a programming language version that I personally stopped using 8 years ago. So, they're very lightweight. They help you keep the pressure, the compute pressure off of your Gen AI stack and keep it on more traditional compute, which helps you be more sustainable and affordable in what you're doing. So MCP for me.
Okay, Virginie, one skill for somebody this year to learn?
I think it will be agentic AI, even if a lot has been done last year. What I see is that companies, at least here in France, they are not using a lot of agentic AI right now. Maybe they will this year. So I think it is very important to go to agentic AI right now or in the next month if it was not done in 2025, because it will be a big thing for companies right now. And another thing is small language models, because a lot of models that are used are very big and they are running somewhere in the cloud and so on. And there's more and more discussions in France around sovereignty. And we do not want to depend on other countries or things like that for our projects. So I think they are the two subjects very hot right now.
Okay, that's interesting. So I want us to, I know when we talk about skills, we also talk about projects. So I would just like us to guide. Maybe someone has gotten some technical skills or is on the way to acquire them. What's like some smallest meaningful project you think someone would build to at least prove or start proving their AI or ML competence? So Brian, any small meaningful project that someone could build this year to start showing
Sure.
something?
Lean into your passion. The tools are there to do just about whatever your imagination can do. So just look at your personal life. Don't try to cure cancer on day one. When I say lean into your passion. So for example, for me, I'm obviously pretty nerdy about agentic AI right now, and I'm spending a lot of time working with those. And so I'm trying to get more domain expertise on things I do. So for example, I have a friend, Julia. She does a lot of observability in code right now. She works with open telemetry. And so I did a little AI portfolio project for my own GitHub, right on topic, where what I do is I grab a YouTube link and my agents take it and they take the audio and they transcribe that. And then they also go frame by frame and they analyze what's on each frame of video and then they record that and they stitch everything together into something that reads like a blog post that I can read in 3 minutes with respect to YouTube ads without having to watch YouTube ads or spend hours. And I can instantly have it in the format that's correct to feed into my agents. So now not only am I more knowledgeable about OTel observability, I also have an agent who specializes in building that into my different parts of my software stack. So it's basically just a YouTube Pooler transcriber, but it used about 4 different AI models under the hood to do that. And as Virginie said, it did it all locally and privately, to where I didn't have to worry about infringing on copyright or anything like that. So yeah, just lean into something obvious in front of you that is kind of pain in your butt that you waste time on.
Okay, yeah, sounds good. Francesco? minimum project, minimum useful
I
project for
I
anyone?
completely agree with Brian actually. So I think like you gotta I mean ideally it should be like a problem that you have like on your day to day and that you would like to solve. But otherwise what you really like what interests you, you know, like for me the example I gave before about like movie genres by using posters. That's because I really like computer vision, so I really wanted to do something with images. And so you know I didn't really follow I don't know what the industry what you might think the industry wants from you because actually you don't even know. So I don't know. Like there are some folks like reaching out to me on LinkedIn and said, hey, you know, I wanna break into the domain. So I'm thinking about like building a forecasting engine for stock markets or something like this. I was like, you know, do you care about it? Do you care about investing? I mean, not really. Well, then don't do it. You know, just don't do something that really you're passionate about, right? Because you're gonna spend like you're gonna put in the hours, you know, you're gonna like spend your weekend on it, right? If you don't like it, you know, you're not gonna do it. So I think that really it doesn't really matter. So it's just like what the actual project that you build, just pick something that you love and then go for it. An example that I did, I think, like a couple of months ago, to solve like a problem that I had, I really loved creating images and videos, and so you know, like there are on Google has like VO 3.1 or you know Nano Banana or whatever, and then I found myself like having images, and then I said, I really would like to get this image and then use an open source model, you know, to try and edit like a part of it. But of course, you can't, you know, because you are inside, you know, Google AI Studio, so you cannot really call another model. So I said, okay, maybe I can, you know, stitch up a couple of API calls, and I can call it replicate. Replicate allows me to have, you know, VO 3.1 and Nano Banana. But then if I want to call another model, I can do it, you know. And then there you go. It was like a weekend project because then found myself like creating this chat style interface, which was typing stuff down, and the backend was calling APIs, and then it basically kind of replicated Google AI Studio, but with all the models that I wanted. You know, was it useful? Absolutely. You know, because I learned a lot about APIs and calling stuff and getting stuff out. And nothing was working, and then at some point it just started working. It's cool, and wrote a couple of blog posts about it, and I enjoyed it. So you know, enjoy it. That's what you gotta do.
Yeah, so it's basically doing something you love. Is that what you're saying,
Yeah,
Virginie?
yeah, totally.
Yeah, Virginie, what do
Oh,
you think? Minimum project, I want to put it on my CV and show everybody and let me get a job right now.
Maybe it's not only things you love, but of course, it's a great thing to start with, things that you have an interest in. But maybe it's a problem that you have and you don't want to spend time on that. On my case, I do a lot of open decks. And every time that I'm starting a new deck, I'm just like, where is this slide? I know I have a slide about this subject, but I do not know where it is. And so I will code with agents and so on, specific project, a side project for me to just manage my slides and to be able to find them and to use them and so on. So it's not something that I love. I do not love managing slides, but I need it in my daily life. It will be so much easier for me to work with this kind of tool. So I found something that I do not have. There are no tools like that on the market. So I will just create my own tool with AI, coding with AI and using AI in the project. And so go on, find something that you need, that you want, that you're interested in, and start. Just start.
Yeah, thanks. Anna, what do you think could be a minimum project for someone to do? AI?
Yeah, that's a good question, and a few really good points have been already called out. Indeed, nowadays it's so easy to implement anything very quickly, actually. Be that something, sort of standard project ideas, like Francesco was mentioning, some sort of, financial forecasting, or something that is a little bit more hypey nowadays, some sort of chat application. But the good something that I want to also highlight here is, what is the purpose of your project? If you want to do something just to practice, knock yourself out. There are so many tutorials out there. You can follow them, modify them, learn, make mistakes, learn from the mistakes, and so on. But I think if your ultimate goal is to have a set of projects that are sort of interview worthy, what you really might want to do there is take a problem, something like Virginie was mentioning, try to solve a real problem that you maybe personally have. It doesn't have to be, solving something for the world. But maybe document it or bring it up during the interview discussion. What are the choices that you had to make? What are the trade-offs that you had to evaluate? These are the kind of discussions that especially hiring managers will be interested in hearing about, how you think through the problems. And this is essentially what is valued in engineering in general. That's how it's one of the aspects how you were considered, are you really an expert in something? And when you know about most of the things that are out there, and then you can evaluate and have your judgment what is applicable in certain cases versus not, and what things to use here or not.
Okay, good. That was good. So now we're still talking about projects, right? So I know there are lots of things we could talk about, vibe coding, so many things happening, all over the place. But we want to know, Francesco, production ready, you talked about the issues you had in production with some of your models. So what makes a project like production ready, versus maybe what we might be having out here, because someone might come out with a project and get faced with some questions, and then there are lapses in the person's project. Is like weak because it's not kind of what you take on production. So what looks like a
The
production ready
difference.
project?
I mean, it's just a completely different world, right? So it is. I mean, the examples that I provided before were clearly just some hobby mm, side projects that I had a lot of fun with, but they were not even close to be production ready. And production ready um, means a lot. Like, it means starting with a design. I mean, okay, this is how at least like we do things at Bolt on the engineering side, and I think that there are some interesting practices. So, we have a design doc. A design doc means that the ML engineer writes the design doc of on the ML side, and then it calls in backend engineers to review like the implementation, because of course a model on its own is completely useless, right? So a model on its own is it just does nothing. It is embedded in a system, right? That's to do something. And so obviously you have to be you have to coordinate with backend engineering, like to make sure that there's a contract that you have signed with them, and it's because you're gonna get a payload and then you're gonna get an output. You're gonna provide an output to them. So that is like the first phase, and then of course there's a building a model, deploying. Then at a deployment stage, you have all the analytics, because obviously you're gonna get asked how is this performing. Do you have an A/B test? Like, are we gonna roll this out? Like, should we roll this out here in this country, worldwide? Those two countries instead. So you are in charge of the entire thing. And at the end of the day, like, the actual model itself, as we keep repeating, I guess, in this domain, is a tiny little part of the entire journey. And whereas essentially what the side fun weekend project is all about is just the modeling, because of course it's the fun part, and so you wanna do that, and it's completely understandable. But it's, I don't know, whatever, like probably like 10% or even less than a production ready system. So it's just a completely different ballgame. So I think that you should try. You should try. You should try and put a model in production, and see how it goes. And it's gonna be a little bit of a roller coaster at the beginning, but that's fun for sure at some point, hopefully. But yeah, completely different.
Yeah, Virginie, what do you think? Maybe someone they say, okay, how can I have a production ready project? What do you think? Yeah, what is production
If
ready?
you putting a lot of efforts on the building phase of your project, you're not production ready, because the building phase is just a small phase about a production ready project. You have to think about security, you have to think about scaling, about monitoring, about evolution, and how you will change things maybe in 6 months from today, and so on. And so there's so more to think about in a production ready than just building the project. Building the project is just a small piece. And you have to think about also FinOps, for example, or how many it will cost to run this project, because if it's too expensive, you will not be able to keep it or to have it in production. And so you have a lot of different things to think of if you're alone. If you have teams with you, you will have to speak with a lot of teams, security team, for example, or monitoring team, and so on, to just understand what you have to put in your project that they can use in the future to be able to keep it running, and not just creating it and you have it on your laptop and it's working on your laptop, great, but it's not working somewhere else, and so on. So the building phase is just the first step, but it's not sufficient to have a production ready project for me.
Okay, thanks so much. So we're going to ask, there's a question in the chat, we'll come to that, but before that I just want to ask a question here, because I know we are all cloud leaders here, AWS specifically, but I know so you work with other clouds. So for beginner, Brian, when should cloud enter this picture? Like someone wants to get into AI and ML, when should cloud enter? Early or maybe later in the process?
You might not have a choice. It might need to be early. If you don't have one of those Mac machines or one of the NVIDIA graphics cards to do the type of work locally, you're going to need to do something on the cloud immediately. Back to Francisco's point about communication, I think this is a place where fundraising is important. And in this moment, I would look around, because a lot of companies are really giant companies are really hungry for new developers to learn their new tooling. And it's a really democratized playing field, because none of us have played with these tools before. They're brand new to all of us. So I would recommend building on Vivek's advice last year of finding a hackathon that includes credits for the cloud, and use that as your beginner platform to have a budget to be able to experiment like you would be able to if you were one of us experienced engineers.
Okay, Francisco, what do you think? Cloud early or later for beginners?
It's honestly just, I think it's just a tool, So at the end of the day, like, it's as any other tool. I guess you should decide whether it matters to you or not. I also agree with Brian that at some point you're probably not in a choice. So like, for example, like at work, like we are on most of our load is on AWS. So we just gotta know that kind of like cloud ecosystem, just to work every day. But for the rest, I think it's a tool. So you'll soon realize that, okay, I'm gonna train this model and I need like 3 hours of this very big, powerful GPU card. Then you don't really have a choice. You're probably not gonna like purchase like a GPU NVIDIA card like on your own just for 3 hours. You're gonna rent it, and that's where cloud comes in. It's a tool. I wouldn't like build up hype over it. I would say, do you need it? Then use it. Otherwise, just go ahead with life.
Okay, Virginie, what do you think?
I think you will need it in a lot of cases, because like Brian has said, a lot of people cannot run locally some models and so on. So at least you have to have a place to run models and to be able to also maybe create some production ready projects, for example. And you can have every project on your laptop. You will have to put your data somewhere, to store things, to put things live, and so on. So you will need it maybe at one moment, and maybe very early in your project or in your daily life. So yeah, you will have to use it. I think it is something that is nearly mandatory right now, and it will be very soon, I think.
Anna, you think same? What do you think?
Yeah, I would agree with Virginie here. You, especially sort of circling back to our previous question, especially if you don't want to get stuck in this kind of tutorial level skills. I think probably one of the first things you will want to learn and practice is the deployment processes, and you'll probably want to dig deeper into the services that provide that functionality, and that'll come relatively soon because sort of the core of modeling, making inferences, that is going to be a relatively small part of the overall project. And for the rest, you might not even, yeah, exactly, you might not even have an option, but resort to cloud services.
Okay, good. So I'll just grab a question because we are almost top of the hour. I'll grab a question from the chat from Eddie. So Eddie is asking with the current advancement in tech and AI, it seems like it's getting harder and harder to land a role. So what do you recommend for someone who's been on this journey for a while with no results? So anyone can respond to that. So it's been on a while and been with no results, and it seems like it's getting harder and harder to land a role. Yeah.
I will ask, in which country? Because I think you have to listen to the market, the local market. Here in France, a lot of companies are trying to find help to understand AI, to learn some basic skills, and so on. So if you want a job in France in AI, you can start with this kind of job counseling and just giving help to companies to understand what you understand very well, and that is very basic maybe for you, but very difficult for companies to understand. So I see Cameroon in countries. So maybe look at what companies need in your country and try to be there for them, and they will need you, and so you will have a job if you look at that like that.
Okay, so it's like trying to provide value for the companies locally first, and then you grow out of that as well. Okay, so we are almost at the top of the hour. I would want us to go one round, and it's more of like if you could give one piece of advice, let's like take home a piece of advice to someone who is aspiring to become an AI ML engineer in 2026. So what would that be? I'm going to start with you, Brian. Advice for 2026 as the gift for this year for anyone who wants to become an AI or ML engineer.
Yeah, I don't know if this is a gift or a curse. Um, Everybody, I think, has talked here or there for different reasons about the importance of understanding like where your AI workload is being done, even in terms of like what website you go to do to ask your chat questions. I would really encourage everybody to think about energy. Is your energy provider using coal? If so, maybe think about using a different AI provider. So my thing to learn is the source of your energy for what you're working with.
Okay, sounds good. Virginie, one piece of advice, for someone aspiring
I
to become AI ML, take home. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a difficult question. I think it's to be curious. Still be curious. A lot of things will happen this year. We do not know exactly what. Even if we are working in this field for many years, we don't know what will happen in the next month. So be curious. Try to learn everything that is new. Maybe not on day one, but after a moment, try to learn what seems to be important and keep up with it. And yeah, you have to learn a lot. And it's interesting to learn. Even if you're an expert, you will have new things to learn this year. So keep learning.
Okay, thanks. Anna, one piece of advice, take home advice for aspiring ML AI engineers 2026.
My piece of advice might not be extremely popular, but I stand by it. So I'll probably repeat something that I mentioned before, this kind of notion of system thinking and approaching pretty much everything you're working on with this lens, trying to see the bigger picture as much as you can. And what else? Some of the things that implies is trying to understand the tools that you're working with. So not only, I can make an API code to OpenAI, for instance, to get an inference, or even sort of more low-level tools that you're using. I don't know, pandas, NumPy, that everybody uses on a daily basis, probably still. But try to understand when you're working with those tools, why certain tools work this way. What do they use under the hood? You don't need to know all the, ins and outs and sort of contribute to open source of those projects for sure, but understand how they work, because they'll help you use those tools efficiently and solve the problems efficiently, and that's going to be also valuable in your system work.
Okay, good. Francesco, take home advice.
So, I mean, we touched upon like so many things, like curiosity and being an expert and best practices around software engineering and then data analytics, monitoring, deployment, everything. I think that something that worked really well for me, and I'd encourage everybody to do more, is to do more open source. That's something that really helped me. I joined an open source project 3-4 years ago. Worked like pretty heavily on it for probably like a year or so. It was about an object detection framework, and it was absolutely amazing because I was my for example my GitHub or Git, just Git knowledge or skills were very limited, and so that kind of obliges you to start following best practices, working in a team, because in any kind of team that you're going to work with, you're hopefully probably never going to push the master directly. So you'll have like to open PRs, you will have to get feedback and criticism about like something that doesn't work, and then design features. And that's extremely intimidating. I think for me, it was super intimidating because we are just landing on this kind of project, and then we're gonna say, okay, oh my God, like these people know so much more than me, and I'm gonna be treated like an idiot. It's gonna be terrible. And generally, it's the complete opposite, because there's like the maintainers who are like 2-3 heroes out there who are spending like their nights on that thing. And then when you're actually not just opening issues, but you're solving them, you're gonna be a hero to them. So I remember being a total hero, like, oh my God, like this guy wants to help, is not complaining about a feature that is not there. So just go there, do it. It completely it completely changed everything for me in terms of like software engineering skills, Git skills, teamwork. So it was great. That's a piece of advice I would give like to anybody who wants to get started or improve their skills in this domain.
Okay, that's good. So we are top of the hour, and I'm really grateful for all the advice, all the insight. I know 2026 is going to be a year. I mean, maybe I mean, I really know it's going to have so much more than last year. Lots of moving parts, and I feel like your advice is going to help out those aspiring to become AI or ML engineers, and even probably even architects, AI or ML architects at the same time. So I'm really grateful for your time and energy. I know last year you were here to share your knowledge. Last year, this year again, we are now moving forward and we are updating with new information. Thanks so much. Thanks, Francesco. Thanks, Virginie. Thanks, Brian. Thanks, Anna. And thanks for all who've attended this session, asked questions, supported in any way. Thanks, Daryl. I've seen you've been dropping us comments and lots of interesting comments and sharing your insight. Let us make this year a special one as AI or ML engineers, aspirants, or professionals. Thanks so much. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah, bye. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.